All right, so thank you all for joining me for a 60-minute yin class. Today's class is specifically going to focus on hips and hamstrings. If you've never practiced yin yoga before, the idea is that we'll hold postures for longer. So we'll hold postures for like 3 to 5 minutes in a vinyasa style class or a 26 and 2 yoga class, which a lot of you practice with me. We hold postures for like 30 seconds, maybe a minute tops. And when you're holding postures for shorter periods of time, especially in more like yang style or power style yogas, you're contracting muscles to get into postures. In yin, when you hold postures for longer, the idea is you want to relax your muscles to get into them. And because we're holding for longer, sometimes when you're in it at first, you might feel like, I don't feel anything. Just wait, because about halfway through, often you're like, oh yeah, I feel it. There's 3 tenets of yin. It's very simple. Make a shape, hold a shape, breathe. That's it. You make a shape with your body, you hold the shape, and you breathe. And I'll talk us through it and give you different modifications. This class is designed so that you don't need any fancy yoga props, no like bolsters or blocks or anything like that. But you might want a blanket or a pillow or a towel nearby, but that is optional. So we're going to start in a seated position with a breathing exercise. So just find yourself in a comfortable seated position, sitting up tall. And we're going to do what's called triangle breathing. You'll inhale for a count of 4, hold the inhale for 4, and then exhale for 4. Inhale, pause, exhale. So in your mind, you can kind of trace a triangle with your breath, and I'll walk us through it. So the idea is you're going to inhale through the nose, get a lot of oxygen in the brain. You're going to hold that oxygen in your brain, and then you're going to slowly exhale. When we focus on our breath, especially when there's a count to the breathing, we kind of, let everything else in life kind of slowly go by the wayside because we have our breath to focus on. And specifically when we inhale and exhale through the nose, we tell the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system that there's no need to fight, flight, or freeze. So breathing slowly through the nose while you're consciously focusing on your breath is a really wonderful way to cultivate a little bit of relaxation in your day. So start just by sitting up tall. If you'd like, you can close your eyes or maybe do like a soft fuzzy gaze just beyond the tip of your nose. You can lick your lips, swallow, sitting up tall, and begin. Inhale through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. Hold the inhale like you're holding a dear friend. Exhale. As you breathe in, feel your heart space gently lift. Hold the breath, keep your shoulders and jaw relaxed. And exhale through your nose, emptying everything out. Let's do 3 more rounds together. Whenever you're ready, return your breath to normal in and out through your nose. If your mind ever wanders in class or you start to get a little bit anxious, the best tool in your toolbox is just to return your thoughts towards your breath, easy in and out through the nose. We're going to start in a wide-legged child's pose. We're going to do different variations of child's pose. So it'll be a total of 5 minutes with the upper body doing different things. So I might adjust this camera angle just a little bit. Okay, so I'll show you from the side. To begin, you're going to bring your feet together, open your knees wide, start to sink your hips down, and reach your arms forward, forehead to floor. Now, a couple of options here. If child's pose is a little bit uncomfortable for you, you're welcome to play around with putting, a blanket or a towel under your armpits, under your chest, under your knees or ankles if you're tight there, or even between your thigh and calf. And if having your arms forward is uncomfortable for your shoulders, you're welcome to have your arms down by your sides. And we're going to hold here for 1 minute. If you ever see me playing around with my phone in class, I promise I am not ignoring you. I am timing the postures. So this is a great way to start to open the hips and lengthen your spine. Eventually the hips sink down towards the heels. Doesn't have to be today or tomorrow. If you have your arms forward, you can play around with reaching the arms forward so even the upper back is stretching. As you inhale, feel the backs of your ribs expand. And as you exhale, let your shoulders and chest soften. It's a nice reminder that ribs are three-dimensional. Often when we think about our ribs, we think about them from the front because that's what we see in the mirror. But you can feel the backs of your ribs here on the back of your body as well as they expand and contract with your breath. Okay, so this is our first variation. You have an option to stay here, or you can start to move your hands to the right and press your hips a little to the left. So now you're getting a side stretch on the left side of your body. I'll show you from the front. So you're just going to walk your hands to the right side of your space, press your hips a little to the left, relax your head down in between your arms and breathe. To get more of a left side stretch, bring your hands further to the right. If it's too intense, bring your hands closer to center. And if having your arms forward does not feel good for your shoulders, you can keep your arms down while still moving your body to the right. So you just get this nice left side stretch. Option to have your hands side by side or cross one hand on top of the other. All right, we'll do the other side. Walk your hands back to center, and this time walk your hands to the left. Again, you can have hands side by side or maybe opposite hand on top. Press your hips a little to the right, stretch your arms to the left, and breathe in and out through your nose. Make sure the jaw is relaxed, neck long. Hips sinking down, spine stretching. Just a nice stretch to the right side body, never a point of pain. As you're ready, walk your hands back to center. And this time we're going to do a shoulder stretch. So keep your left hand in front of you, reach your right arm up. Then we're going to do what's called thread the needle. Bring your right hand through the left arm, left knee. So the right arm is on the floor. And then you have an option to either have your head forward or bring your right ear towards the floor, looking to the left side of your mat. You can keep your left arm in front of you, either palm on the floor or fingers on the floor, or you can reach your left arm up and drape it behind you for a half bind. So at this point in the wide-legged child's pose, the upper body's got some variation, but the hips might start to be screaming a little bit or a lot, and that's okay. Too much is too much and too little is too little. So if you ever need to like take a break from the posture and wiggle out for a second, that is completely fine. Otherwise, you're just holding here, slowly letting gravity doing the work as the hips sink down. Okay, we're gonna slowly reverse out. So if you have your left arm draped behind you, start by taking away that bind, put your left hand on the floor, and then slowly unthread the needle, bring your right arm up, right arm down, and we'll do the other side. Reach your left arm up, and then thread the needle, left arm through the right shoulder. And you can have your chin forward or left ear towards the floor. You can keep your right hand in front of you, stretching to the top of your mat, or you can reach your right arm up to the sky and then drape it behind you, one day catching the left thigh with the right hand for a half bind. This is the 5th minute that we've been in this wide-legged child's pose. So hips sinking down. This is our last upper body variation, just savoring every breath. Notice where you're carrying tension in your body and see if you can just let it go through the exhale. So we're relaxing into the posture rather than fighting or forcing. Okay, we're gonna slowly reverse out of this side. If you have your right hand draped behind you in a bind, start by releasing that bind, put your right hand on the floor in front of you, and then everybody together, unthread the needle, left arm up, left hand down. If you want one last stretch, really reach your arms forward, sink your hips down towards the heels, nice stretch to the whole back, and then slowly, carefully walk your hands in, take your time coming out of it, go slow. As you're ready, we're gonna make our way onto our back for our first Savasana or puddle pose. Take your time. Woo. If you need to do any little stretches before you lie on your back, please feel free. Okay. So lie with your head towards the front of your mat, feet towards the back of your mat. So in types of yoga like Vinyasa or 26 and 2 hot yoga, we would call this Savasana or corpse pose. In yin yoga, we call it puddle pose, which I think is more charming a name than corpse pose. So the idea is you can act like a puddle. And yin yoga, for those of you who are new to it, like when I say yin, you say yang, right? So it turns out yang is actually pronounced yang. So I'm gonna say yang, but yang yoga, again, it's power yoga, it's intense. You're moving your body in time and space. Yin yoga is supposed to be relaxed. Yang style energy tends to be the right side of the body. It's considered solar, so it's heat inducing. It's considered masculine. Yin style yoga is considered feminine, lunar, cooler, left side of the body. I would be remiss to say I do not believe in binaries. So, obviously we have this idea of like male, female, left, right, solar, lunar, but then it's like, we have sunrise and sunset. We have people who are non-binary. We have the middle of our body, not just left and right. So while I think it's useful to think about yin in relation to yang, left in relation to right, solar in relation to lunar, as a reminder, there's always gray area, and we're all on some sort of a sliding scale, right? Some sort of something like that. So take what works for you or what makes sense to you, but it would be a little bit silly to purely define yin yoga through its opposite of like vinyasa or power yoga, right? So just breathing in and breathing out. In this style of yoga, we will do a puddle pose between every posture. When we hold postures for a while, obviously we're stretching parts of our body, but we also sometimes cut off a little bit of circulation to one part of the body. So we do these puddle poses or, savasanas in between just to let everything kind of recalibrate. Okay, from here, we're gonna do what's called figure 4. Bend your legs up so your feet are on the floor. Let your knees rest together side by side. And as a sidebar, if lying on your back with your legs straight in puddle pose doesn't feel good for your lower back, you can always take your puddle pose just like that, just like this, with your knees bent and your feet on the floor. So there is that option. Okay, from here, keep your left foot on the floor, left leg bent. Start to lift your right foot off the floor. Bring your right knee to the right side of the room so that your right ankle shin area touches your left upper thigh knee area. So if you look down the center line of your body, your legs will make a 4 shape, right? That's why it's called figure 4. From here, you can stay right here or start to lift your left foot off the floor and draw your thighs in closer to your abdomen. So you want to keep your head, shoulders, and hips on the floor, but you're going to draw the lower body in towards the stomach. If you want more of a thigh stretch, outer thigh stretch, you can, even interlace your fingers some way under your knees or shins and really pull the thighs into the stomach. If it's too intense, bring your left foot closer to the floor. And we're gonna hold here for 4 minutes. We're already 3 minutes through. So this is, if you have sciatic pain, active sciatica, this is your posture. We're stretching the outer right thigh here, the back of the leg, the hamstring. It's a great posture. If you have sciatica, or if you ever are talking to somebody and they're like, I have sciatic nerve pain, tell them to do figure 4. This is a great posture for that common and very painful ailment. And if you have no idea what sciatica is, just like take a moment to be grateful, because it is not fun. But the good news is there are ways through it, and yoga is one of them. Notice if you're rolling to one side. Try to evenly distribute your body weight. So both shoulders, both hips on the floor. Relax your feet, relax your face, and breathe. Slow inhale and slow exhale. Some people really like yin yoga because there's a lot of silence in it. Other people do not like yin yoga because there's a lot of silence in it. So I will try to honor both, talking us through part of it and then giving us some time just to be by ourselves. We have 2 minutes left, and I'll just be silent the rest of our time in this posture, figure 4. We have about 30 seconds left. This is the time if you'd like to go a little deeper, draw your thighs in towards your abdomen. If you're a little uncomfortable, just know that the end is near. All right, as you're ready, we're gonna slowly come out of it. Take your time, there's no rush. Slowly return your left foot to the floor. Take your time, bringing your right foot down to the floor. You have an option to stay here for puddle with your knees bent, knees together, feet on the floor, or as you're ready, lengthen your legs down. And if you have, that gap in the lower back here when you're lying on your mat, you're also welcome to place a small towel or blanket under your lower back, and that'll support your lumbar spine. Otherwise, just enjoying some puddle pose here, noticing any sensations, blood flowing through the right hip, towards the toes, breathing in, and breathing out. Okay, let's do the other side. If your legs are lying flat, bend your legs once again, feet on the floor, knees resting together for a moment. Keep your right foot on the floor this time. Lift your left leg up. Bring your left knee to the left side of the room and place your left ankle shin area on top of your right upper thigh. Option to keep your right foot on the floor, or for a deeper stretch, start to lift your right leg off the floor and draw your thighs closer to your abdomen. And you're welcome to do any sort of grip, with your hands on your knees or between your legs on your on the back of your right thigh for an extra stretch. And we're going to hold here for 4 minutes. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that we are not symmetrical, which if you practice yoga with me a lot, you're probably rolling your eyes because I say it every time, but it's so true, right? Like, we're not butterflies. We are perfectly imperfect. This side might feel a little or a lot different. You might know why, right? It might be like an injury or a surgery or something like that. But you might also, until now, not have realized that your left thigh was a lot tighter than your right thigh, and that's okay too. Yoga gives us a wonderful opportunity to kind of notice where we're tight, gives us an opportunity to address that for sure. But my hope for you is also that yoga gives you an opportunity to be okay with the fact that, like, you might always kind of have like a bum knee or a tight shoulder, and that's okay too. We're going for practice, not perfection, right? So we're just allowing ourselves an hour here to relax, to stretch the body, but it doesn't have to look a certain way. You don't have to go super deep into a posture to receive the benefits. And, in yoga, and yin yoga in particular, you actually want to do about 70% of what you think you should, especially if you, like me, are kind of a go-getter and you're always like, pushing yourself. This is not the class for that. And you might actually find that the mental challenge of doing less is harder than the physical challenge of doing more. Less is more. I'm going to hold here for 2 more minutes. Notice where you're holding tension. And just let it go with every exhale. Not fighting or forcing the posture, just relaxing into it. About 30 seconds left, a little bit less. Now's the time if you'd like to go a little deeper. Bring your thighs closer to your abdomen or stay just as you are. Okay, as you're ready, take your time, slowly release the grip on your legs, bring your right foot down to the floor, slowly left foot down to the floor, and then take whatever shape of puddle pose you'd like. And sometimes the release from the posture can be as intense as the posture itself. So if you need to like sigh it out for a second, that is totally fine. In general, with yoga, we want to breathe through the nose because it tells our central nervous system that we're not, in a dangerous state, right? We can relax. But that being said, sometimes if you just need to like take an exhale through your mouth, it's like you telling your body like, yeah, I felt that too, right? So it is okay to occasionally sigh it out as long as it's not like every single breath is a sigh, because that's maybe a sign you went a little too far. Okay, next we're going to do what's called a reclining butterfly. So bring your feet together and start to bend your knees out to either side of the room so that the soles of your feet start to touch. The outside ankles come towards the floor. So from a bird's eye view, there would be a diamond shape with your legs. Now, to get a deeper hip opener, you can bring your heels closer to your groin and your knees closer to the floor, but you don't want to force your knees. We're going to hold here for 4 minutes, so gravity will do most of the work. You don't need to like push down necessarily. So to get a deeper stretch, you'll bring your heels closer to your groin. If the stretch is too intense, bring your feet closer towards the back wall, towards the back of your mat. I feel this one today. It's worth noting that we store a lot of tension, and some might even say emotion, in our hips, which at first sounds like kind of gauzy and airy and theoretical, right? Like the first time I heard a yoga teacher say, you store tension in your hips, I very much rolled my eyes and was like, that makes no sense. But if you think about it, like from a stress response perspective, when we're stressed out, what do? We hunch forward, right? It's a biological response. We're trying to protect the front of our body from, a couple thousand years ago when we were like running from bears and stuff like that, right? But now, there's no hippopotamuses to run from, and yet we still have that same physical response to emotional tension. And so sometimes when we start to open the front of the body, that comes out. And I'm saying this all in the service of, especially in hip opening postures, if you have an intense rush of something, it could be physical, but it could also be psychological, emotional, spiritual, even like this sensation that you really want to cry or actually start crying, just know that that's very normal. And conversely, if you do this posture and you really don't feel anything, that's also normal. A lot of yoga is just discernment, finding what's true for you. And what's true for me in reclined butterfly is not your same truth, right? We have different life experiences, our bodies have gone through different things. So just to keep in mind, if these postures do make you feel some sort of way, or if when you release from the posture, you get a sudden rush of something, that is very normal. But also if you don't feel much, that's normal too. But I just want to throw that out there. Whatever you feel is normal. Got a little bit more than a minute left. Everybody's doing great. See if you can relax your pelvic floor. Let your feet be heavy. Notice where you're carrying tension. And let it go through the exhale breath. About 30 seconds left. If you would like a deeper stretch, now is the time to bring your heels closer to your body or stay just as you are. I personally am going to stay right where I am. This is enough for me today. Okay, as you're ready, take your time, slowly bring your feet towards the back of your mat. Let your legs separate, arms separate, puddle pose. And again, if you need to sigh it out, please feel free. Fresh blood rushing through the hips, the knees, the feet. Let your body be heavy and let the floor hold you up. There is one standing posture in yin yoga, and we're going to do that now. It is called dangling pose. So to start, just bend your legs up if they're not already, feet together, roll off to one side. I'm going to roll off to my right side. Then take a moment here, just kind of lying in a fetal position. Keep in mind that we've been on our back for a while, so I want you to really slowly come up. As you're ready, put your hands on the floor, take your time, push yourself up. Maybe take a moment sitting, just as blood flow kind of reverses, especially if you have low blood pressure. Just take a minute here. Okay, and then we're gonna find our way to standing. I'm gonna show you from the side. So dangling pose is as it sounds. You're gonna bend your knees, start to fold forward, and as you're ready, you're gonna let your whole body dangle down, relax your head. You can have your hands on the floor or catch opposite elbow with opposite hand. Take a moment here, play around with your step. You might want a bigger or smaller step. For more of a hamstring stretch, you will bring the weight into the balls of your feet and lift your hips up more. We're gonna hold here for 4 minutes, already about 30 seconds in. So this is a great hamstring stretch. Knees can stay bent, but eventually you'll bring a little bit more weight forward and lift your hips a little higher. Do let your head go completely. It's a great stretch for the backs of the legs, but it's also a nice spine lengthener, right? You're not like forcing your spine down, but gravity will do the work. Think about more space being created between each and every vertebrae. The other part of this posture is you're getting a nice rush of blood to your head right now. And because our heads are upside down, some people say that this is kind of like giving yourself a facial, like we're, reversing gravity towards our head. So maybe you do this in a headstand for a couple minutes a day and, who needs microdermabrasion, right? Relax your head, let your arms be heavy, and just hold. We're about halfway through, 2 minutes left. If you, like me, find that it's hard to hold still or that it's hard to keep the mind quiet, it's helpful to remember that yoga is a practice. So we're practicing stillness. We're practicing kind of a meditative state, focusing on our breath. But if your mind wanders or your body fidgets, I'm right there with you. Whenever you notice, just compassionately return yourself to your breath. Towards a little bit of stillness as you breathe in and out through the nose. About 20 seconds left. This is the point, if you'd like to lift your hips up a little bit more and straighten the legs or bring more weight into the toes, you'll get that extra stretch at the end. Okay, to come out of this one, we're gonna do a counter stretch. Put your hands on the floor in front of you. Open your feet a little bit wider, so like 2 to 3 feet between your heels. Bring your heels in and your toes out so your feet make a V shape. And start to sit down. Bring your hips down to the floor for what's called Malasana or garland or squat pose. You can play around with having your feet a little bit wider or a little closer together depending on like how wide your hips are. Now, eventually your heels will come to the floor. Might not be today or tomorrow, that's okay. You're perfectly welcome to come forward, and you can always actually place a blanket underneath your heels, so it's kind of like you're in heels, and then you might be able to sit down more. Okay, so you can lean forward, have something under your heels, or eventually heels to floor. From here, hands in prayer, and push the elbows out, lift your chest up. So this is how a lot of the world like hangs out. This is how a lot of the world eats. This is how a lot of the world uses the bathroom. But in America, not many of us, I think it's like 70% of Americans cannot do this posture. If you practice it for like a minute every day, eventually the hips start to open up. It's a good hip opener and it's good for digestion. For those of you where this is easy, toes pointing out, turn your toes in so the insides of your feet are parallel. That's the next step. Take an inhale, take an exhale, and we're gonna put your hands on the floor and come forward into belly savasana or belly puddle pose. So lie on your stomach. If lying on your stomach does not work for you, no problem. Lie on your back or lie on your side. For those of you who'd like a little bit of a different front body massage, you can bend your elbows out, have your hands on the floor and relax your head down. You also have an option to look to one side, maybe looking to the right, left ear on the towel. You can also have your arms down by your sides with palms facing the ceiling and heels falling open. So when you have your toes pointing in and your heels falling open, it's an inverse opening to your hips and pelvis. We've outwardly, externally rotated the hips a lot in class. This is an inward rotation to the hips. If you're looking to one side of the room, slowly, gently lift your head and look to the other side of the room, other ear on the floor. So both sides of your neck stretch. Send deep belly breaths in and out through your nose to massage the front of your body. Breathe deep into any point of tension. Let the floor hold you up. Okay, if you're looking to one side of the room, slowly lift your head, bring your chin forward, put your hands on the floor and push up into a tabletop position. I'm gonna show you from the side. Next, we're gonna do what's called dragon pose. So from tabletop, you're gonna bring one leg in front of you. I'm gonna put my right foot in front, so foot between the hands. And from here, you can start to lengthen your left leg back. So it's kind of like a runner's lunge, right? You want to press your left hip forward to square off the hips. You can stay here. You can really lift up or even have your hands on your thigh. An optional variation is to bring the right knee to the right so the foot comes off the floor and eventually have your forearms on the floor. So it's like an open winged dragon. So lots of different options. And we're going to stay here for 3 minutes, already 30 seconds in. Okay, so you should feel this nice stretch on the left thigh. This is a really good, what's the word I'm looking for? This is a really good way to practice eventually doing the splits. If you're super flexible and you want to do the splits here, that's the next option. You're welcome to. Otherwise, keeping your foot into this runner's lunge. And you want to press the left hip forward, peel the right hip back. If having this knee on the floor is uncomfortable for your knee, you're welcome to roll up your mat or place a blanket under your knee so you have a little bit of extra support there. Notice where you're carrying tension. Sometimes I'm surprised at the weird places that I'm, holding it, right? So just see if you can do a little bit of a body scan and then relax just a little bit more. Relax your shoulders, soften your face, let your pelvic floor release. Got just over a minute left. Everybody's doing great. With about 30 seconds left. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper, now is that time. Okay, take your time, put your hands on the floor. We're gonna do a counter stretch. Start to sink your hips down towards your left heel, right leg forward, and just drop your head. So I'll show you from the side. See that a nice little right hamstring stretch, sinking down here for a moment. Okay, good. And as you're ready, push yourself up and find yourself in the puddle pose of your choice. It can be on your stomach or on your back, dealer's choice. Noticing any shifts in perception. When you release out of the posture, again, it could be physical, but it could also be mental, emotional, spiritual. Just being open to whatever that is or is not for you. I know what you're thinking. We'll do the left side next. In yin, sometimes we put a posture in between just to keep things interesting. So we're gonna take your time. If you're on your back, bend your knees again, roll off to one side, maybe the other side. If you're on your stomach, put your hands on the floor. Everybody push yourself up and then face forward with your butt on the floor for what's called caterpillar in yin pose, or what we would call stretching pose in 26 and 2 yoga. So for this, you'll have your feet together. I'll show you from the side. First, your hands are on either sides of your thighs. And as you're ready, you're just gonna walk forward, and eventually you can even drop your head back. So you get this, gentle rounding to the back, gentle opening to the spine. You're always welcome to put like a blanket or pillow kind of under your thighs and chest or under your head. So you have a little bit of padding there. And we're going to hold here for 4 minutes, already 30 seconds in. Sometimes it helps to pull your butt out of the way a little bit, and then you just get this nice stretch through the hamstrings, but never a point of pain. Let your jaw relax. Let your shoulders soften. Notice if you're holding on to tension in your hamstrings, and see if you can really just let the hamstrings go. Back of the body lengthening. About 2 minutes left, halfway there. About 30 seconds left. This is the point if you'd like to go a little deeper, maybe folding all the way forward, maybe flexing your feet so you get that Achilles and calf stretch. You're welcome to. Okay, as you're ready, slowly walk yourself up. You can take a counter stretch by bringing your hands behind you, maybe bend your knees and kind of windshield wiper the legs. Should feel good after a lot of hip openers. And then find yourself in your puddle pose of your choice. Let's do the other side of dragon. If you're on your stomach, put your hands on the floor and push up. If you're on your back or on your side, just rolling off to one side, maybe the opposite side. Take your time pushing yourself up. There's no rush. Great. And we're going to do the other side of dragon. So again, in a tabletop position, place left foot in front or whichever foot you haven't done yet, and then just start to release that right leg back, lengthening the back leg. Check, make sure your knee, ankle, and hip are in line so your foot's not like way turning to the right or the left. That's just some hip tightness. And again, this side might feel different, and that's okay. Eventually really lengthening the back leg. Doesn't have to be today or tomorrow. Remember, you can always place a blanket or roll up your mat under your knee. can stay lifted, hand on thigh. You can come down, maybe even forearms to floor, or let that left knee open. We'll hold here for 4 minutes. Sometimes I feel like a broken record. We'll hold here for 4 minutes. We're already 30 seconds in. It's funny, even though I'm not like looking at my phone other than for timing, I'm still getting alerts. So I just saw an alert that was like, the new cast of Gossip Girl has an iconic photo on the steps of the Met. And I was like, what? There's a new Gossip Girl? What? Do you ever have that moment, like things outside of yoga that you might be like, interesting. When you're in yoga, you're like, that makes no sense. The news, none of it makes sense. We're getting a little bit outside of our like day-to-day life, a little bit outside of this culture of like having to be in the know at every given time. We're just being okay with, maybe not being in the know for an hour. On Saturday, a lot of us were practicing yoga when the AP called it for Biden. And I honestly was just so grateful to have a moment to breathe with a lot of you. And it was a nice reminder of like, we want to know, we want to know. And you know what happened when some of us found out 15 minutes later? Nothing happened. We just found out 15 minutes later. So in this culture of like having to be in the know, having to have our phones on us, having to have our TV turned on, yoga is a nice reminder that like, actually, it's okay to not be the first person to know something. Actually, it's okay to take time for yourself, right? Just breathing in and out through your nose with about 2 minutes left. Press your right hip forward. I just had to remind myself to do that. Okay, about 20 seconds left. This is the point. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper, feel free. Also, if there's a part of your body where you're still holding tension, this is an excellent opportunity to let that go. Okay, put your hands on the floor. Woo, carefully walk yourself up. We're going to do that counter stretch. Bring your hips down towards your right heel, left leg straight, folding forward. I felt that. Okay, and as you're ready, slowly take your time coming onto your back for final puddle pose, final savasana. I used to take this ballet bar class with this beautiful model, like Eastern European woman, Vanya, and she would always be like, woo, and I would always kind of like chuckle to myself. And every time I accidentally do that in class, I'm like, you're more like Vanya than you think. So sometimes you just have to sigh it out when things are a little bit intense. Find yourself in your final puddle shape, whatever that is. Just like with every other posture, make a shape, hold a shape, breathe. That's it. It's so simple, right? If somebody told you, make a shape, hold a shape, breathe, you'd be like, done, easy, right? And yet we all find halfway through a posture, especially one that's like really, you know, touching on something a little tight for us, boy, it's hard to breathe. It's hard to hold still. We don't really teach that in school, right? How to hold still. In fact, some people would say that our culture values being on the move at all times. And yoga, especially yin yoga, is a pushback on that. And sometimes it's a little confusing, or we almost think, am I doing enough? Right? Which is, of course, a question of, am I enough? And the response is always yes, right? You're doing enough just by being here, just by breathing, just by lying on your back or whatever final shape you'd like, right? You've taken some time for yourself. I think when we take a little bit of time for ourselves, we're better able to take care of others, take care of our community. We actually come back with renewed vision and energy. So, you know, it's not frivolous or selfish. I think yoga, whatever form of self-care you have, is a really wonderful way to ensure that you also have the energy for community care. As you inhale, feel your heart space lift. As you exhale, just empty out, letting go. Let your hands and feet get a little heavier. As you inhale, feel your chest rise. Exhale, feel your chest fall. With every inhale breath, the body expands. With every exhale breath, the body contracts. Sometimes on days where we feel like nothing is going our way or nothing's working right, it's nice just to take a moment to notice your whole body moving with your breath. As a reminder of how very much you do have going for you at any given time. Oxygen entering the body, blood cells moving around, neurons, synapses firing, so much working in your favor right now. Maybe a new neuromuscular pathway being created of breath, of stillness and relaxation, making a shape, holding a shape, and breathing. Slow inhale, slow exhale. You are so very alive.